Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the town board meeting for May 24th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. As always, we're doing our meeting virtually as well as in person. We've got Zoom live. If you're interested in joining us via Zoom during one of our meetings, the instructions at the top of each agenda. We're also streaming to Facebook, YouTube, and to our own website. And next up, I would like to ask Councilor Italiano to lead us in the pledge.
One nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Next up, we have open podium. This is something we have at the top of each agenda. It's an opportunity for residents to come ask a question, if there's some concerns. If you have anything you'd like to share, if there's anybody in the Zoom waiting room, please use the raise hand function if you'd like to speak. Is there anyone here who has a comment or question for open podium?
We did have one person sign up, Dominic Bolon.
Yes.
Come on up. And just stick to about 3 minutes.
Okay, I have a question about, my wife and I, we've been in town of Manlius for 37 years, homeowners. Built a retirement home on Hogue Road, trying to get municipal water. And it's kind of tough to go through Aqua. Because I got so high up the ladder and then there's no answering machine or anything. So I believe someone from the town requested a quote, because I got one through email. And Aqua wants to extend the main all the way down Hogue Road. But I'm retired and I can't possibly take out a loan time. Now the main is stubbed across Poolsbrook Road. And I'm approximately 100 feet from the nearest person that has municipal water. So I'm trying to, I'm wondering if does the board have a liaison or someone I could talk to as far as proposing what I would do, because I'm willing to pay for water. And I can dig my own trench from the end of that main. But to me, it doesn't make any sense to put in, another 700 feet of main. So
I think that would probably fall down to a district extension would be the only thing we would be able to do, right? We'd have to do a district extension of one. So that would be it is a pretty onerous process. We've got a little bit more experience with it recently. But
I am in the district.
Oh, you are in the district?
Yes, it's on my tax bill.
Okay.
That makes it easier. Just about.
How far is the water?
There's a water main, because I communicated with Aqua, and Jeff Miller. There's a water main at the corner of Poolsbrook, but it doesn't go down Hogue.
Right.
And then Steve Drake from Aqua is the one that contacted you. So,
If I'm not mistaken, it stubs onto Hogue Road.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's on my side of the road. And like
But
I
you're
said,
in the district already?
I'm in the district, yes, it's on my tax bills, I'm in the district.
So do we have this gentleman's information
Yes.
to reach out? So we'll absolutely be talking to someone from Aqua. We'll reach out and we'll see if there's anything that can be done. It is is it normal for someone to be in the water district and not?
You can check. I'll be tomorrow, we can talk when I get in touch with Aqua again and maybe we can.
That would be great, because I think there's a pretty simple solution.
Let's hope so.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
you.
And then looks like we've got Garrett via Zoom.
Yes, sorry. Right.
Unmute. Hello, am I muted?
We can hear you.
You're unmuted.
Okay, great. I don't know if my video is working, but I'm available if needed. But thanks for allowing me to speak today. Just wanted to discuss some concerns and problems I've had with the annual assessment and grievance process. And I know things won't get fixed today, but just to provide you some things to consider going forward with the process. I feel that the annual assessment filing and grievance process is outdated, systemically flawed from top to bottom, non-transparent, deceptive, and non-democratic. The overall process, as well as the assessor's actions, are the opposite of democratic, are instead more indicative of municipal strong arming. On the phone, the assessor appears to be very cordial, understanding, and willing to work with residents, myself, in an effort to settle value disagreement issues prior to the grievance date. He admitted this year that he made mistakes in prior annual assessments specific to my property, being in a floodplain and a lot of it being unusable land, and that he should have and needed to value the property based on the cost approach instead of the sales comparison approach, which he was using, because there's no comparable properties. After this conversation, I was cautiously optimistic after speaking with him on the phone. This was last Thursday, 5/18, as he seemed very friendly and gave praise to the grievance process and said it was a fine example of democracy at work, as it provides residents an opportunity to, these are his words, not mine, punch him in the face with facts and numbers to disagree with the values. However, when I appeared at the town office in person on Monday, 5/22, to discuss such issues, basically to refute his initial and stipulated valuations with proper documentation evidence, pictures I had of my property with unfinished construction, as well as comparable properties, he clammed up, acted as if he was unaware, and said he vaguely remembered our conversation from 4 days prior, 32, which was a 32-minute conversation. He was more interested in troubleshooting a printer toner issue, which I can understand based on prior battles with printers. However, it's not an excuse to ignore residents appearing at his window. He refused to give me 3 to 5 minutes of his time to look at the documentation that I'd worked so hard to prepare. And he instead walked away to another room and unfairly pushed the confrontation and questions to his representative. I'm not sure if he just doesn't like to negotiate, is unable to listen to differing opinions, or had too much pride. But his conduct was unethical and not appropriate. But I'm not going to speak anymore of him. I just wanted to talk about a few things. I think that the timeline is unfair and technically skewed in favor of the assessor and municipality, which opens the door for potential undue and unchecked discriminatory practices, treatment, and collusion. What I mean by that is residents have less than 2 weeks before the receipt of their annual assessment and grievance deadline to prepare research, compare properties, and submit required documentation. This is a very short window to file grievance, given that the assessment office has 52 weeks to prepare and finalize the assessment roll. And notices don't appear to be postmarked and are typically in mailboxes 2 Fridays before the deadline. So in this instance, it gave me 11 days to prepare. And I am aware that the assessment website is supposed to be updated. I checked it on May 1st. I didn't see it in there. But anyway, I have a feeling that there's a high level of electronic and written grievance applications that are shot down without adequate explanation for rejection, other than did not complete properly. This is based on 5 prior annual assessments that were, or grievances that were that were rejected flat out. There wasn't a specific reason for the rejection, which would allow for a much more transparent process, as well as to prevent reoccurrence of rejected grievances without just material cause. I mean, prior excuses I've gotten for not allowing the grievance was not being able to open the email because I encrypted it for security reasons, although the department was able to open the prior years using the same address. There's also power outage, software format documentation, which I learned of this year. It appears that the department can only accept PDF formats in their email. And in the past, I have provided both PDF, Excel documents, and Word documents. I just feel going process, it needs to be overhauled to fit the changing time, ensure independence and accountability, and to be much more transparent. I know in February 2021, you had a board resolution to authorize the acceptance of electronic filing of assessment complaints, which gave us the opportunity to submit electronically, which I think is a good thing. But I think it could have been more beneficial if the resolution specifically stated the acceptable software programs that could be used to submit such documentation, such as only PDF are required. And if this was mentioned in the grievance response, that would have been helpful too. But last year, it's just, I didn't hear back from the grievance for about 5 weeks. And I think it needs to be quicker than that. But I know I don't have much more time, but I did watch the DeWitt Town Board open session meeting 2 weeks ago, and they gave almost 2 hours to residents to appear and discuss their grievance or their concerns with the process. And it appears that they probably received their notices quicker than the Manlius residents did. I just think the process needs to be more transparent to allow for more just and better process, because it just seems like I know housing prices are up, obviously, but I don't think that should be a reason for the assessor to continually increase prices. It is said that about 1/3 of all home sales in the US are transactions of cash offers above asking prices. People with no mortgages, since the money is not a concern to them, they bid up the prices to secure properties, and they lack any concern for subsequent assessment increases. This is detrimental to typical homeowners who are W-2 earners, as well as any homeowners who are reliant on pension and Social Security income, not only in Manlius, but Onondaga County, the state, and the nation. I'm not going to get into this too much, but I think, and I know it would probably require some Congress or legislative actions, but given the increase in assessment prices, I don't know if it's possible to lower the percentage of, that's applied to the tax, but that's probably something for another meeting. Just going forward, I just think it's not really sustainable to keep increasing assessments of residents on an asset that is non-cash flow generating, not liquid, and really the homeowner doesn't receive any financial benefit from it unless they sell the property or refinance. And I think having to do those things just because to satisfy increased assessment, which thereby typically 99% of the time will increase taxes, is not a good process. And I'll just lastly, I do attend some meetings once in a while. A couple weeks ago, I was there. I wanted to speak to someone about the process, but it wasn't the proper forum for that, which is fine with me. But while I was outside, I was speaking with a town of Manlius police officer who was very nice, and I've met him before, and I voiced my concerns to him, and he too, I don't want to get him in trouble or anything, but he too said that his assessment went up 30%. He lives in the village, and he's concerned going forward, he might not be able to afford it. And he's a lifelong resident, and he's committed to helping out and serving the public. But going forward, if this continues, it'll be hard for the community to get people to protect us, like police officers. And if the area becomes an area where it's unaffordable to live.
Thank you very
That's all-
much for the.
That's all I have
for
to
that.
say. But thank you
think-
for giving me the opportunity to talk. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I think that comment shares a lot of issues that a lot of residents have. I think there's a couple really good examples of ways to make the process better, explaining what formats are going to be acceptable. I will say, and this is an answer that we begrudgingly have to give quite a bit. A lot of this is dictated by state law, especially the amount of time between when you receive your assessment and when the grievance day is. I know that's something that anytime I get an opportunity to speak with our state representatives, I bring up. But I think there is a lot there that is very useful, and I want to thank you very much for giving us some of your time and sharing those comments with us.
All right, thank you.
Garrett, may I also say, there is a lobbying effort called taxmypropertyfairly.com that is
Oh.
resident, you might want to check out, which
Okay.
works to advocate. You've done some amazing research, and I think you're just the kind of person that could help them in their efforts. And please keep us informed about what you learn. And thank you for for everything you've shared. It's not falling on deaf ears.
I appreciate. And yeah, thank you. And we'll see you in future meetings.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else here for open voting? Okay. We'll move right along. Councilor Waters.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion, please, to accept our proclamation for Gun Violence Awareness Day. You may know that it's the motion to declare the first Friday in June National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the town of Manlius. And I really want to thank the local volunteers from Everytown for Gun Safety, Moms Demand Action, Lauren Ruffridge and Mary Kay Peters. They have encouraged other municipalities to join us, and we were also grateful to have the TMPD join us. We are going to be wearing orange on Wear Orange Day, which is June 2nd. It's the first Friday in June when this acknowledgement happens, this day happens, and our officers are going to be as well. And the reason that this color is chosen is because it's the color that hunters use for awareness about gun safety. And this whole movement started when Hadia Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15. And so in January 2013, she was killed. And on June 2nd, 2023, we recognized the 26th birthday of Hadia Pendleton. And we are going to go ahead and try to do what we can to raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. We also are renewing our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the hands of people who should not have access to them, and encourage responsible gun ownership and help keep our families and communities safe. So that was an excerpt from the proclamation. Thank you very much for letting me make this motion. I'll second that.
Comments? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, I think we've got some recreation items.
Yes. The first item is the summer show employee policies. Applies to the town of Manlius Recreation Department for the summer show musical that's going to be coming up. And for that, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the updated Recreation Department summer show policies.
Second. Any questions? Comments? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
I thought it was good and it fit on one too. Our recreation departments have worked very diligently on updating it and getting out necessary information as well as with our town attorney as well.
Thank you.
Great.
Yep.
So the next item is also from our recreation department. It is we contract with Jeff the Magic Man to provide 2 shows to our playground program in August for the cost of $370. So I'd like to make a motion to approve. Do you have a question?
No.
I saw your hand.
I'm getting ready to second. I'm so excited.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2023 contract with Jeff the Magic Man for entertainment services in August for $1,270.
I'd like to second that. I love Jeff the Magic Man. I think the program is a good one.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. I will admit, I was pleased when we were sitting in our agenda meeting and Jeff the Magic Man came up. I was not expecting it. So
He probably comes in to do balloon animals for your birthday or something.
you'll have to let us know when he'll be at playground, because I'd love to be there to see Jeff the Magic Man. Apparently, he's the local legend.
I believe it's August 1st and 3rd.
Okay, I'll be there. So next up, we have a public hearing. This is for a local law to amend chapter 127 of the town of Manlius code, the subdivision code, to clarify that each individual subdivided lot shall directly tie into public water available to such lots. So I would be looking, we wanna,
So let's do an environmental review of this, and then we can go right into the public hearing. So it's our responsibility to go through part 2 of seeker to determine whether or not this local law, which really requires each separate subdivided lot to have its own water line to the main aqua line.
Which would actually be the responsibility of the owner.
Correct.
Correct.
That's correct. Yes, and it's frankly part of their standards anyway, but they would like us to adopted into a local law because of a situation that occurred here. So does anybody want to make a motion to declare ourselves lead agency?
I would be happy to declare the town of Manlius as lead agency.
Yeah, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Okay, and then we're gonna go through the 11 questions on the short environmental assessment form part 2. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adapted land use plan or zoning regulation?
No.
No or small. Will the proposed action result in a change in use or intensity of use of the land?
No.
No or small. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of an existing community?
No.
No or small. Will it affect the CEA, a critical environmental area?
No.
No. Will it result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure or mass transit, biking or walkways?
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and fails to incorporate reasonable available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact public-private water supplies? No. Not the supplies.
Okay.
Yes.
Right,
Supplies.
right. You're adding whoever it is to it.
That's, yeah, or public-private wastewater treatment.
Creating a new lake or something.
No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historical, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna?
No.
No. And will the proposed action result in an increase in potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
Finally, will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
Okay, so based on the answers to those 11 questions, which are that it will have no or small environmental impact by requiring each individual lot to have its own water service to an aqua main line, I would recommend that this board issue a negative declaration under secret.
I'll make a motion to issue a negative declaration. I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I think I'll bring this up now because I did talk to Aqua yesterday. And before we go into the public hearing, they did ask me to add a sentence.
Okay.
And I want to say that so the public will be able to have an opportunity to comment on it if they want to. And I did talk to Tom just about this and he seemed okay with it. They wanted me to add a sentence that says, it is the intention of this provision to require each building to have separate fire services directly to an aqua main line.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is in,
It's a further clarification of the purpose.
correct. It's very consistent with what the local law does.
Yeah.
And you're open.
I'm fine with everything that's put into the local law.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Or motion carries.
Make a motion that open the public hearing.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Is there anyone here to make any comments on this local law? If there's anyone here joining us via Zoom, please use the raise hand function. We'll give you a minute. There's some really riveting stuff we're doing right here.
I'll make a motion to close the public.
Okay,
Second.
those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Any further comments, questions from the board?
I think this was asked before, but this is only for like a subdivision, not an AUD kind of.
That's, yeah, that was.
Yes, it's for a subdivided lot. One of the situations, just to give a clarification as to why could be a problem is there is a lot which they made an exception for where there are 2 buildings on it and the water service goes through the first building to the second building. Concern is that if something happens to the first building and it's not owned by both of the building owners and they don't pay their water bill, for instance, then they would cut the water off and wouldn't be able to get to the second building.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the situation they're trying to.
If the current spot was subdivided
Yeah, so-
without there being water. So basically, it's in order to get that subdivision, they would have to run another.
but if it's 2 buildings on one lot, no problem.
Right, and
With the same owner.
The same owner, fine, but if you subdivide the lot, they want direct service.
It's really a protection so that if it is subdivided in the future, that you don't, in order to get that subdivision, you have to run your own water.
It's also for fire safety. too.
Correct.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we now we have to vote on it.
No, I'll make a motion to adopt local law 2023-7, amending chapter 127 of the town of Manlius Code subdivision to clarify that each individual subdivided lot shall directly tie into public water available to such lots as outlined in the resolution.
As amended.
Oh, as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next up, we're setting a date.
Okay, yay. So I would like to make a motion to set a date for the public hearing on the comprehensive plan for June 28th, 2023 at 6:35 thereabouts. To hear public comment on and consider adopting the comprehensive plan as presented by the comprehensive planning steering committee.
Yeah, I'd like to second that motion, but also before I do, just note that we have additional references going
Yeah.
in.
That's great.
And CNY, we included the two most recent CNY fair housing reports to the community plans. So those are new. And it's relevant to the coming later on the agenda.
And I also want to say that there was a revision this morning that will be on our website. So there's even a newer one than this one, which was just the other day. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So will we send it today?
Yeah.
I've already changed it.
Okay, so for people who are interested in reading it through it, don't wait, it's very long.
Yeah.
And then we are very interested in having your comments on the plan.
Well, and I think too, we tried to take into consideration some of the feedback we've had. This is not for our next meeting. This is for 2 meetings from now. It's actually 5 weeks because we have that extra week between now and the next. So we're hoping that with 5 weeks heads up, this is a pretty ample amount of time for folks to take their time, really consider everything that we've got there in the plan that the steering committee has put together for us. And when we come to this public hearing, we'll be very excited to get lots of comments and have some good discussions about what's in that plan.
Yeah, as always with thanks to all of our departmental partners, our outside partners, all the people that participated, our focus group leaders, our steering committee members, and to Sarah, and to BNL, our team, our colleagues at BNL. Thank you very much. So I would like to second that motion to set the date for the public hearing, please.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, mark your calendars. Okay, next up, we have a zone change request for 4581 Enders Road, tax map number 114-01-13.1, request from CA to CB.
Good evening, Greg Stroman, Dunn and Stroman here representing Stella and John Canizzato. They've been for a town before for similar things. And we're back because we're still struggling with this property, trying to figure out how to make it work as far as for them, as far as finances go, and that's what they're gonna give some history. They originally bought this 4.35 acre piece of property, combined some parcels, tore down some old houses that were abandoned, some were just derelict, combined it and built this daycare center you see on the site today. The plan was always to try to sell that front piece of property to help recoup some of those costs and make the project viable for a variety of reasons, which is long and drawn out. They were not able to actually sell it, get zone change, find a good use for it, and they're still struggling at this point. So as you've heard about the taxes, everything keeps going up, expenses keep going up, and they're really trying to get recoup some of that initial money that they put in, trying to make this thing financially viable. So it's a property that's 1.78 acres on the corner of Enders Road and Route 92. It is currently a vacant piece of property. It used to have their old daycare center on it, which we had to tear down due to planning board requirements. So they've had this vacant piece of property they're trying to do something with. They've tried to do it for a variety of uses that fit in some of the zoning, and it just hasn't. The only thing that's kind of come up that's of any viability is something that's going to fit into a CB zone. And that's why they're back in front of you. They tried with the CA. Nothing that really makes it feasible, nothing, to be honest, nothing that's even come close to looking like it's gonna come to fruition. So we've gone back and looked at it. No surprise, I mean, you know, the youth that's most viable for the site, that they have people that will actually do the project, is a convenience store with gas. So we've submitted to you guys site plan, showing how it fits in the zoning of the CB. Basically it fits in the site, no variance is required. They're definitely, we went to, if we ever got the zone change, we would be, in there with all the, requirements of planning board would still on the project, obviously it wouldn't look like a horrible, project in the end, I'm sure. You got a planning board that's very good at it. So this is why we're in front of you, and we're really just asking, to try to get this thing to something other than a vacant piece of property that they're getting taxed on every year. With that, I'm just here to ask any questions and that may help you, guide you in how you're gonna, allow us to proceed or not proceed with this. And obviously it's in your court.
Does anybody have any questions?
I don't really have any questions, I have comments.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so again, you've mentioned that you've been here before, so I just want to take the back. And note that the town board in 2020 reviewed a request on the same parcel to change it from RM to CA after a review from the planning board and a public hearing on August 26, 2020. The town board adopted that change from RM to CA. This was not even 3 years ago, and I don't have any reasons why I would reconsider that decision. CB is one of our most intense uses. And with a daycare next door, schools, and a busy intersection where I know parents are extremely concerned about safety issues on Enders Road, a more intense use would exacerbate all these issues. There's also a lot of CB already parcels next to this area. And again, increasing that intensity of use is just something I would not want to do. And I do live close to this intersection.
And if I can maybe elaborate on some of the mitigating factors that we're looking at doing it, and some of the prior studies that have been done. We've done traffic studies for a variety of uses. One of them is for convenience type store like this. Although everybody says, traffic, it has actually a relatively small overall impact on it. Nothing that would cause the intersection to fail. One of the reasons is that facilities like this draw by far and away on existing traffic already going down that road. So as I told another group, where we did another convenience store on a much busier intersection, when it's actually very similar to Linden Corners, not here downstate. Essentially, you are not going to go there out of your way to go get gas or bubble gum during rush hour. You're just not. I mean, there's plenty of other places to get it. There's, if you're going there, if you're passing it already, going to work, back from work, that's the kind of an establishment. This would be where you divert your trip to make that. So look, it won't add a dramatic amount of traffic to it. Some of the things that we are looking at, and there's the CD in the area. There's already a convenience store, and I frequent it all the time when I'm driving through town. Functions very well. I think we may even design that one, decided that one. But there's very little interaction, very little traffic, and it's a similar setup as far as on that corner. The rest of it is either not going to function very well with CD, or I don't see the hardware store going anywhere. It's been there for the last 35 years. I've been driving that corner. And yes, it's RM, but we've also left a significant buffer in here right from day one, just for that one reason, because it is their daycare center. They're going to try to protect it. One of the things that's always been put on the table is a sidewalk we installed all the way across both frontages of the property to help with pedestrian traffic, which they don't exist today. And if there's other things that come through that planning board process, we would open to that. About that.
Thank you. So, I'm gonna wait for Councilor Waters to get back, I'll take a phone call. Are there any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, just a couple. I'm assuming you've done your market research. Is another convenience store of the same type of variety that's kitty corner right now viable? Is that a good choice?
There is at least one convenience store use, which actually does very nice stores, that is very interested in the project.
My second question.
And the reason for it is partly because they like to go on opposite sides of the road.
That feeds to my
One-
second question, which is, the existing convenience store now does have a turn lane.
Mhm.
And this parcel doesn't really seem to have that as an option. Has that been
And that's
considered?
something that they came up as a need that could be done, definitely.
It would be expanding the road, which is,
Well, it's expanding it, but what they do is we take up part of the shoulder and then, so it may expand the road. Maybe 6 feet, 7 feet, and it will be towards our property, so there's room for that. And one of the things that when we bring up, you know, why would they want to go there? And one of the reasons is they take up different morning route or evening route. And one of the things that it would actually do is reduce some of the conflicts, because if I'm coming in Casanova and I want a cup of coffee instead of turning into, that used to be nice and easy, whatever it is now. You wouldn't do that. You'd turn into our site. Same kind of thing on the way home. So in some respects, it could minimize, to reduce some of those interactions. Not that it's gonna reduce traffic, I'm not saying that, but it's one of those things, you know, do I care where I get my cup of coffee? I
it's
don't.
interesting. That's a commuter amenity
Yeah.
that you described in an area that we're really looking at. It's kind of more of a mixed area. So that's, thank you for the information.
And just so you'll see Dunkin' Donuts going, like on opposite side of the road, like a half mile apart, you're going, what are you doing, you know, but. You know, they still keep doing it, it seems to work for
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, usually when we get a zone change application like this, first step would be to refer to the planning board. And the Onondaga County Planning Board, so I would look for a motion to send it over there. Okay, so seeing no motion, this board is not interested in moving this forward. But I do thank you for the time and the presentation.
it. Thanks for your consideration.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, we're gonna be setting a date for a public hearing for local law on landscaping and lawn maintenance.
Yeah. So, like code enforcement officer gave us update on our grass law. And after we kind of, Manlius kind of met and now we went through it together. So what this is supposed to do is codify the current process, like if you have long grass, codify it into our law, so that there people can see the process. And then we also made sure that there was a way where you can have natural landscapes.
Yeah.
So that's what this is, and if anyone has any questions, and I don't know what else. I didn't have a presentation prepared.
No, we're just looking to set a date.
So I can just set the date. So I'll make a motion to set the date for a public hearing on June 14th at 6:35 for the proposed local law regarding landscaping and lawn maintenance.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Please take a look and we'd love your feedback.
Yeah. Okay, next up, so we do, what we've been calling work sessions. It's an opportunity prior to a meeting. We usually do them at 5 o'clock right here. These are opportunities for us. We've done a couple of them. They've been really pretty successful. Where we just have a conversation with some portion of the board here. Sometimes we've had guest speakers, sometimes we've had just open discussions. So the one that I would be looking for a motion to schedule is with CMY Fair Housing. It was actually referenced earlier in the agenda with some of the additional references for the comprehensive plan. Councilor Waters and I had a really great conversation with CMY Fair Housing. They've done a pretty extensive study on what they call exclusionary zoning in the
So-
county.
Excuse me, is the idea that somebody from there would come to this meeting?
Yep, we'll have guests there. I received, I think, probably part of the presentation we'll be getting. But this is gonna be a really good opportunity for us to talk about how zoning can and should change to allow for more diversity in housing, affordable housing, that type of stuff. I know specifically, we've talked to them about wanting to talk about ADUs and how that would work with the current zoning, and then also assuming this comprehensive plan is adopted at some point, we'd be looking at addressing our zoning and adjusting our zoning to match that comprehensive plan and the vision that's in there. So this is, again, it's just a work session. It's mostly a conversation. If you can't make it, please, watch it after the fact. We're hoping for a pretty good discussion, and generally speaking of these, if residents come and join us, generally we allow that to be part of the conversation. So it's a nice way to, to really talk about some of the policy that happens before the board. So I'll be looking for a motion to set that date.
I'll make a motion to set a date for a town board work session on June 14th at 5 p.m. to discuss housing and zoning within the town of Manlius, CNY fair housing, and to discuss other town business matters.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, so do you want to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. Maybe. The Tyler Technologies is the parent of our financial software in code. We have been working with Tyler to look at some upgrades to our system, mainly to move it to the cloud-based platform instead of residing on a server here at Town Hall. I did forward you the proposal. I think it's would be a great benefit to the employees that use the system, as well as those that work in our other departments, highway and police. It will save them a lot of time, and it's very cumbersome to remote in. So I think it's a great opportunity. And now that we have a new controller, I think it would be very beneficial. So we would, employees would really appreciate the board would support moving that.
That's great. And just as clarification, the agreement that we have on the agenda is the amended agreement that now includes the cloud service. It's that last line item there. So it's a small change to that overall contract that we have. And I will say too, I think this is a great idea. It'll allow for a lot more flexibility and a web-based interface. I know as the resident geek, that might not sound interesting to many people, but I think it would help out quite a bit.
Yes, I've heard from staff members too that they're excited for this because it is better for listening to remote in.
Great, so I look for a motion.
So I'm going to make a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the updated agreement with Tyler Technologies for the cloud-based services effective immediately for a new yearly cost of $17,490.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Yeah, I'll stand for that.
Okay, motion carries. Great, so we'll get that going. I know in the conversations, it's a 3-month process, I think it was.
Get going tomorrow.
And we'll talk with our IT group too to see if there's a possibility to recoup any resources that we have for local storage right now. And I know we're also going to be buying or making sure the employees have training on the new system and everything. So this is,
And I also saw that you're rolling out cyber reliability and security.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
I'm very excited to see because of the web-based platforms can roll out a lot more.
If anybody doesn't know what 2-factor authentication is yet, they're gonna learn very quick. Okay, so next up, we have a updated New York State sexual harassment policy. If you look for a motion to adopt.
So
that.
I would like to make a motion to adopt the updated New York State sexual harassment policy as presented by Town Manager Wu.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Great
And
work on that.
Oh,
yet another,
and here's mine. There's
Yeah.
mine too. Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to set a date for the MS4 Stormwater Report public meeting, which is June 15th at 4 p.m. And the report is attached, and speaking of outdated technology, that report is.
yeah, and it's, I know this one is an interesting note. It's not a public hearing that we do at a meeting. This is more part of the MS4 process. We have to have a public meeting to take comments.
Part of MS4 is public communication about stormwater, so that this is an example
Yeah.
of what they come up with for that. So
Second that motion.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor?
I
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So next up, we did receive a request from the ESM school district for an additional SPO for authorization for the police department to begin hiring process.
Before we do that, I did have a couple of things. So I just want to say too that the SRO program is a little over 10 years old and the SPO program is not. not quite 3 years old. And it has expanded from 1 officer in schools in 2012 to 7 officers in FM school district and now potentially 4 at ESM. We have more officers in our schools now than we do patrolling the town. With 4 SROs and 7 SPOs, we have a small police force growing in our schools. And I'm wondering what the impact is on our students because of this, and I'm also wondering what the impact on our police department is. We do need to evaluate how this program is administered and if the costs are accurately being covered. Our police budget continues to increase each year, and this is one reason why. Our police department is consistently hiring, and I'm concerned about the amount of turnover we have seen with SPOs. So we, hopefully in the future, we can evaluate the SRO and the SPO program, since it has been in the school since 2012, just to see what's working and what's not working before we add even more positions.
Any other comments?
I would like to follow up on that. I think that there is a need to, because we now basically have another division of the department, which is school-based officers, that we look at that in the context of the department overall and decide how best to manage this group in conjunction with the school personnel, the principals that they work with, so that we're not being an appendage to either the school or the department, but that they're integrated in a way that makes sense. And I think as every year the schools are adding more, that creates some distinction within the department. Their shifts are different, their duties are different, and just trying to have a better understanding of how does that impact the rest of the force, and what should we be doing to plan for the future?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, I think we've got coming up sometime next month, we're gonna have another presentation by the police department on the SRO and SPO program. So it's a good opportunity to have that discussion. And I know we're gonna be talking with our partners at the schools over the summer about exactly what these comments have brought up. So I really appreciate that. Any other comments or questions?
Is the presentation going to be June 14th?
Did we pick a date yet?
That's the one you were.
Yeah, because you know what it was? We didn't want to do it the same night as the public hearing for the comp plan.
Oh, yeah, that works. Then, because June 28th
we'll-
is that one.
So loosely scheduled for June 14th, but very likely to be that.
Great.
That's great, thank you. So I would look for a motion.
So we might even want to invite
Yeah, that's the plan.
some
Yeah,
parents or what. or the school
yeah, we're
board.
gonna, once we have it figured out, we'll blast it out there so everybody, and then probably what we'll end up doing too is we'll clip it and we'll put it as a separate video so that people have an opportunity to see that. Because I think there's a lot of questions about that, and to have that particular piece, whether it's 15-20 minutes consumable, will be really helpful.
So, okay.
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay, good. So with that, we need a motion to authorize the police department to begin the hiring process for an additional SPO special patrol officer position at the ESM school district. This is not approving the contract, it's just approving for you to see if there's an appropriate candidate.
Is that a second that you need? Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Next up, we've got some deer committee updates.
Stock deer, yes. Thanks, everybody. So last week, I had the opportunity with the deer committee reconvened with the village of Fayetteville and our USDA and our DEC partners to just kind of go through and review how this year's program went. So I'll give you just the brief bulleted updates. So beginning January 1, 2023 and completed April 1, 2023, there were 69 deer removed, which is down from an average of 88 over the previous 3 years. The program itself was managed successfully with minimal conflict with property owners or the general public. And the fun news, of course, is that 1,779 pounds of venison were provided to food bank for distribution. So there were, however, some recommendations to consider immediately, and then some further down the line considerations that came out of our meeting last week. As per usual, establishing more viable properties within the town outside the villages to participate in the program. It's difficult to find suitable, viable locations for culling. And then to really get some resident feedback because we tend to hear throughout the year sort of piecemeal items of interest from residents here and there. And we refer to a deer program. We do have a deer management program, but what is it doing for you? And so, to sort of formalize that into a survey of resident satisfaction with the program, Councilor Denton has agreed to help me. To generate a survey that we can leave up for the next couple of months on the town website, which I'll develop in cohort with the DEC folks, referencing really what we're looking at is the period of town involvement with the program. So Fayetteville Village has been doing a deer management program for some years previous to the town's involvement, and I think 2020 was the first year. So really referencing that 2020 to today period of time. Also to get, and it's came up in our police committee meeting earlier, to get valid numbers on deer and vehicle encounters. And as well as a few other things we can get from residents in a survey regarding, you know, anecdotal information about tick encounters, how was your tick experience this year versus previous years. And then, of course, the suggestion to begin the 2024 program run up a little bit earlier, with seeking and viable property petitions in September, October. And we came to a few sort of crosshairs properties to consider last week. And so we're kind of emailing back and forth about those. And then in terms of like more future down the road considerations for the deer management program, pursuing a waiver of the 500-foot setback for certain properties from the Region 7 DC director to allow more sites to be deemed viable. And then also to include, this is an either or, to either include antlered deer in the 2024 program or eliminate the exclusion of antlered deer in the program to allow for greater removal numbers. And then on the public side, to advocate for passage of Assemblymember Hunter's bill and Senator May's equivalent bill to facilitate more efficient and effective culling programs through uniform streamlined state guidance. And of course, it's always going to be good to engage in more general public education effort on herd balance, management principles, and the desired outcomes with respect to ticks, foliage, intrusion on your property and such.
I do have a question. Do you have, or do you envision sort of a heat map of where deer are? So I think that the traffic accidents, I think they did have that mapped out, but I'd love to know from the resident, I mean, I have sort of anecdotal, but you know, whose garden is continually eaten and that people, you know, the deer are bedding in their lawn every night compared to other areas, because that's where the conflict with residents is. And those neighborhoods are generally pretty much, we know where they are. So if we could then say, we know it's this area, this is where the deer are, this is where the ticks are, and let's really seek to, you know, get a waiver for like property right there to be justification to DEC about why we would do that.
So that's a great idea. I love it. And so in a dream world I'm dreaming of right now, our survey will produce great and meaningful data from resident input. And we will also have useful GIS software to use as a town to implement and generate our own heat maps with our own data.
I think as long as we do address collection and things like that, I think we'll be able to, I think it'll be interesting to, when we get the resident data, to kind of throw that up against what we've got from the PD and everything like that.
Yeah, if we put a survey out and say, hey, tell us about your deer, we'll definitely get some comments.
Yes. Yeah, and it's a good idea. We've been out there for quite a while too, so we can make sure we get a lot of feedback.
Have we approached the village of Manlius to participate? Okay, because, you know, the deer don't know where the line is.
Yes, that's right. I can't speak. It
So
came
I-
up last week, but it wasn't clear.
I just personally had the experience of meeting a little flock of deer at Mill Run that weren't even afraid.
Oh, no,
They weren't afraid of the dog, like they just weren't even afraid.
That's my neighbor would walk right up to it.
So I just think, you know, that if we could speak with Manlius, that would be nice.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you for the update. Uncle Weber, would you like to talk to us a little bit about the Civic Plus Next Request Oil software?
Yes, so I'm really just kind of looking to bring awareness to the town board that I'm going to be pursuing the purchase of FOIL software. And I want to say that we, when I first started doing FOIL several years ago when I became town clerk, we would get maybe 2 or 3 FOIL requests a year. We partnered with the police department and we helped in the processing of their FOIL requests. And FOIL has grown over time to include searches of emails and things like that, and I'd like to say that the number of FOIL requests that we receive is pretty expansive. I think we are up to 50 or 60 just on the police department side alone this year, and possibly I want to say at least 30 on the town of Manlius side. Most recently, I processed a FOIL request for any and all emails from 2022 to present. And what that requires is that we go through every email, because as the FOIL officer, it is my responsibility to make sure that the citizens can have the information that they're entitled to, but I am also required to protect information on both personal information, protect the deliberative process. I spent several hours with our town attorney, making sure that we go through that and do it properly. And it is now to the tipping point where I would have never said we needed FOIL software before, ever. I think that it is costing us more human hours than it is to do something that we could do effectively using the software. The software program that I looked at is under the Civic Plus umbrella. It is already a program that our residents are used to. And so what I like about this is that it is my hope that as they have just acquired this the software company, that the user interface would be very similar. So our residents are used to our buttons looking a certain way, things being organized in a certain way. They would have that same user experience and it would be easy for them to use. I'm following some legislation that may require us in the very near future to have several documents online. This software would allow us, if somebody makes a freedom of information request, and we can make policies and procedures to say what is out there, but if someone requests something, that request is now out there. And so if a resident is looking for information, they would put this search in. They could see that another resident in past years has searched for this information and immediately have access to their FOIL search results. It would reduce the number of man hours for us to go back and even just get that old FOIL request and send it to them. But it would also give transparency to our residents in a time when, you know, they're gonna be doing these things at night, right? They're gonna be doing these, they could have immediate access to the information that they're looking for.
And so then their FOIL would be, since the date of that previous residence request, give me whatever it is about that.
Yes, and they could certainly do that, or they.
But that'd be a
may
lot less
already-
work.
Yes, it would be obviously keyword searchable. The other way that we can use it. Our website currently does have the ability to post documents online, but it is not intended to be used as a sort of document search function. You could now take documents that we know the public wants ready access to and put them in a way that they could easily kind of look through and see them and give them immediate access to that and be proactive in getting that information out there. And improving that experience for them. And obviously redaction is important, making sure we follow the legal processes. It would have triggers and mechanisms in place. Right now, we use a spreadsheet. So we say, this FOIL is due by this date. This would automatically notify us and the department heads that I'm requesting the information from to say, hey, you need to get this, your FOIL request is coming due, and we can set parameters in there. So I'd like to look at 3 companies. I have a meeting set up tomorrow. Supervisor's gonna sit in with me on that. And then I am looking for another software company just to see what's out there, because I don't want to just jump on the Civic Plus one, even though I do like that it's under our current software umbrella. So when I have more information, I'll come to you with that, with my recommendation for the software purchase.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
Time together.
It's part of the job.
So,
I have another, yeah.
yeah.
We
you've
got a
got-
new thing, yeah.
Yeah, so you will, yeah, go for it.
So we have a request for work in the right of way from the telephone cable utility.
Verizon, yeah, makes sense.
So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the highway superintendent and supervisor to sign a highway permit submitted by Verizon New York Inc. to upgrade telecommunication infrastructure along Hale Road and Peck Hill Road, which, and the citing details included.
Do we have to tell the residents, so only a few people up there, do we tell them that Rob does the regular letting people know stuff, or is this the?
Rob's not involved in the work at all, but I'm sure that if you would like, we'll communicate with the.
Verizon.
With Verizon, but maybe the highway.
No worries, I mean, because the Hill
Send a
Road,
notice out.
since the Hill Road folks wanted signage recently, it's easy to just send a message that is
Yeah.
coming to.
I'll have Robin on it.
Okay, thank you so much.
I just wanted to add to that, this is happening because of the money that Onondaga County received, the federal funds to upgrade, high-speed broadband services throughout the county.
Oh,
That's what's
Oh, that's
starting.
good, because so this was an area that was.
Yeah, it's, what is it?
That was weak, because we were looking for where, there's only a few spots that are there, and that was one of them, and maybe this
Yeah.
is one of them.
Yeah.
Good.
No, that's good.
Looking For a second.
Oh, second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Alrighty, and I would like to make a motion, did you write that? Didn't I? To approve the, to author, or I guess, to authorize the supervisor to sign the supervisor's report for April.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And I have abstract number 10 and 10A, which together add up to $681,635.69. I make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay,
And
motion
then there
carries.
is paving, it means it's summer.
Yeah, very good point. When paving comes in over trash, you really knows. it's happening.
So it's happening.
Alright, and then it looks like we've got some minutes, the draft is there, those will tables for now.
So you don't want to vote on them?
If you, I didn't know if you'd have long enough to review them, I submitted them
You
on
have
Monday.
Sorry about that,
So we'll
but
table
This
the-
next time. So I can review.
I just wanted them out there for the public,
Mhm.
but we can certainly approve them next time.
Okay, do I have any?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I do, just before we adjourn, just before, I know everyone's ready to go. I did want to thank, our new comptroller, Maria Lemway, for joining us tonight. And with that, I would ask all those in favor of adjourning the meeting. Opposed?